we finally have a conclusion to the story we've been talking about for a while now. Jake and Dan have bought back Kona Bicycles from Kent Outdoors. They've released a letter earlier today on Monday morning. And this is kind of a feel-good story because of the fact that it just shows that it takes a lot of work. You can't just come in here and buy a company for the name, for the brand, and go ahead and just try to make it a direct-to-consumer business model and push it out there. There's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes along with it. And I think that Dan and Jake both saw that, and they wanted to go ahead and take another crack at it. We'll talk about maybe the logistics of things as well, talking about maybe they got a better deal when acquiring them. Maybe they don't have the debt they don't have to worry about as well. But there was definitely a lot of after-pandemic woes that happened. The slowdown, the excess inventory. So they maybe got out right at the best time in 2021. Kent went ahead and took over, and they produced this crazy business model of direct-to-consumers. They undercut a lot of the margins on the dealers that were already present. So they're going pretty much in competition with their dealers themselves with this direct-to-consumer model. And then as that started to slow down, they had a wild ride at like the end of December where they're doing a complete buy one, get one free of their whole entire bicycle products. And then the final nail in the coffin was when Sea Otter event happened, which was one of the largest bike shows in North America. Kona was setting up their tent. They had everything ready to go. And then the day before, on Wednesday, I believe the show started Thursday, they were told to go ahead and pack up, take down the tent, and then there was nothing after that. So, and then later on down the road, Kent announced that they were going to sell Kona. So there's a whole situation here that we will touch on and talk about in this situation. But definitely, I think when people tend to ask and tend to see what really makes successful companies in this industry, a lot of people in the bicycle industry aren't really suits. There's some kind of quirkiness to it. Some people come to me and say, hey, how do you guys last so long? Our store has been in business for 40 years. A lot has to go with my dad's, but I've been there for about 12 years. My brother's been there for about 20 years. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears and a lot of dedication goes into it. And when you have something that's your own, like your baby, like this company they created, like Kona, you definitely work harder than it when someone else just comes in and goes ahead and says, hey, we got this brand, we got this title, let's go ahead and push this. When it's your own store, when it's your own product, you're definitely more passionate about it, and you definitely want to see it succeed, and you align the people that you want to work right, and you go ahead and you know how to motivate them, and people just want to go ahead and see that whole brand succeed as well. So a really good story going ahead, and let's go ahead and talk about it right now. So basically, they released a letter, Jake and Dan, today, talking about the struggles of what happened, and they said that when they sold this business to Kent, they had this vision that Kent would go ahead and take out this and definitely lead their product better, pursue a business model, and they basically said, hey, they're going to do a great job with this. But obviously, that mixed with you give a corporate business a enthusiast brand, kind of like Kona, how they were, and you have the strugglings of excess inventory and the demand going down. You don't have that love, you don't have that support, you don't have that passion behind the product, really going ahead and figuring out what the consumer needs. Definitely slowed down. And then once they were introduced, as soon as Kent got a hold of it, they introduced that direct-to-consumer program, which a lot of dealers kind of pushed back on. And it actually hurt the independent dealers themselves because of the fact that they were giving less margin to those dealers, and they were pushing more consumers towards direct-to-consumer business on their website with these crazy lower discounted prices on their website, and also like those BOGO and buy one get one free bicycles at that time as well. So after that whole debacle happened, they kind of came in, they started talking to each other, and then they want to go ahead and reacquire the business themselves. But here's a little bit what happened during the new ownership of Kent Outdoors. Basically, the new owners destroyed dealer confidence with a consumer direct and omni-channel sales program that dealers said offered them little margin. Once the direct sales program got rolling, Kona undercut dealers with deep discounts, including the infamous BOGO promotion, which was one of the biggest sales I've ever heard of in the cycling industry, in which at least some bikes were shipped to consumers unassembled. So they had so much excess inventory, they had so much lack of confidence, they didn't even care about the product at that moment, that they were literally just trying to basically send out products unbuilt and unassembled as dealers received them. Some dealers told Brain that Kona became uncommunicative and customer service suffered under new owners. So basically they were hearing little to no talk for dealer support, little to no talk for customer service support as well. And then, like we said, we saw that whole incident happen at Sea Otter as well, where they went ahead and just packed up everything. And that was a wild ride. There was a lot of speculation, a lot of stories happening on that. A lot of people were going ahead and saying that they were going under at that point. Jump to today, where they released that letter, and we got to think about this too. They sold it to Kent in 2021. They probably made good money. Maybe they had debt at the time. Maybe they want, who knows why they want to get out and why they want to sell at the time. But definitely the cycling industry was kind of slowing down at the time, and people can kind of predict it and forecast it. But maybe they got out at a good time. They made their money during 2020 and 2021. They sold it on a high note, and they got out. Kent goes ahead and they just have a horrible time with it. They don't want anything to do with it. They want to wash their hands and get out of there. Maybe Kent sold it back to the original owners for a discounted price of what they got it for, and maybe they were able to pocket some of that money and then jump back into the game after seeing this whole thing. Because no one wants to see a company that they created, that they put their heart, blood, sweat, and tears from 1988 be smeared with this kind of, this kind of scrutiny. So maybe they said, hey, we got some money, let's buy it back, let's take another crack at this and see what happens. And then they came out with this whole kind of letter to here today, which I'll go ahead and summarize real quick. They came out and said, it was a wild ride when we sold Kona 3 years ago and believed that the new owners would carry our visions forward and continue to build great bikes, employ great people, and deliver the promise of quality, fun, and a little weirdness that had defined Kona for so long. That was one of the cases. People always chose Kona because they were different. There was such a huge demand for Kona because they didn't want to buy the everyday Trek, the everyday Specialized. People liked that enthusiast brand. I have so many people with a Kona bicycle in their quiver of their 5 mountain bikes just because of the fact they say, I like it. It's different. It's quirky. I like the way it rides. They just couldn't put their finger on why they liked it, but it just stood out to them, and it was one of their favorite bikes in their entire quiver of bicycles. Then they go on to talk about all of their hardships back in the day, working through the bike shops, working in the industry, buying some shares of the company, but then they go ahead to summarize it up. They say, we stand here humbled by the support of you who have cheered on the good name of Kona. We're ready to meet the challenge of reviving good times, meeting with our friends, and old and new, sharing some trails, trading some stories, and once again connecting a few more million riders to that long, sweet ride. We hope it never ends. Dan and Jake and the crew at Kona. And so what are their plans for this? So obviously, it's all great, fine, and dandy. We want to see people succeed. We want to go ahead and cheer them on. We want to see the success story go ahead. But obviously, you can't just go ahead and buy back a company, because I'm sure if a company is doing BOGO, buy one, get ones, they have probably a good amount of excess inventory. And they have this direct-to-consumer business model right now that was kind of failing. So basically, right after they took this on, they came out and said this. As for right now, direct-to-consumer is out for now. Kona has ended online consumer direct-to-sales program. They want to focus with more independent bike dealers, and they want to go ahead and build that relation back up, that trust with those dealers themselves, which many Kona retailers found untenable, and is ending deep discounts such as buy one, get one promotions, which sometimes include unassembled bikes. We'll never do a BOGO sale again, so don't ask, but we promise to offer good value for good money and always. But again, this is a time where people are stuck with inventory. I've made tons of videos on this. We're seeing people do blowout sales. It's kind of a slow season for us right now. So what are their plans to do? They still have their inventory woes, obviously. The new owners acknowledge that the brand still has excess bike inventory, some of it's still at factories in Asia. That's not news to really anyone. We all know that there's a ton of excess inventory in every single industry out there. That it hopes to sell at discounted prices throughout retailers, which is not crazy either. The new owners have taken responsibility for that inventory and said that they're working with their longtime factory partners to move it. We are now positioned to price our bikes for much more competitively. And also private ownership allows us to be more streamlined, more flexible, and quicker on our feet. This is true. They don't have to work down a chain of commands. They can go ahead and set their prices. They can go ahead and see if they approve to go ahead and move products. So this is much better for them as well. And a couple more things I like to see here is employees return. They're going to bring back familiar faces, which is always good. The reason why a brand succeeds is usually the people that they bring in there. And those people that they usually bring in there are, yeah, you might have to pay them more. Maybe they have their little weird quirks. Maybe they're not in a corporate suit or something like that. But those are the people that makes that brand alive. If you ever go into a bike shop, you see the old guy in the back or the hothead mechanic or whatever the case might be. But those are the guys that make that bike shop that really do put the time and effort in, that thrive over the brand, and they're the most passionate about that type of stuff. And those are the type of people that you want to keep around for the business because they're the one either advocating out there, they believe in the product, and it's just, at the end of the day, it's a bicycle store. It's all in good fun. So to have a bunch of suits in there saying, hey, why isn't our product selling? Let's just market, sell, direct consumer, buy one, get one. Sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes you have to go to these events, have a beer with your consumers, host cool events, make products that people actually want to buy, and not just a weird gravel bikes. You know, that might be the case, but I like to see them bringing back old employees as well. And then also teams and athletes are going to go ahead and bring back their world champion, 5-time mountain bike rider as well. And they'll probably bring back some other teams as well as in that case. So good news for Kona. We'll see how this kind of story goes on. It will be a rocky start. Obviously, we'd like to hear a story. We'd love to see them just land on their feet and take right off, but it's going to be some bumps and bruises along the way. But if anyone can do it, it's the people that started the company themselves. And I don't think that they'll have an issue going forward. It might be slow, but I think they have a right head on their shoulders. And if they're willing to go ahead and buy this company back, I think they're up to the task to go ahead and take this forward. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. It was definitely more of a fun, upbeat video itself. And it's stuff we like to hear in the cycling industry. So let's end this on a high note, and I'll give you guys a good night, and I'll talk to you guys later.